Hey guys, hope you guys are doing today. Hope you guys are doing today, tomorrow, good, yesterday. Thank you. You know what we're talking about today, guys? We're gonna talk about relying on other people for happiness, because you know what happens when you rely on other people for happiness? Well, that's what this video is for, so stay tuned to figure that out. So let's just get right into it. I'm trying to keep my energy high. I was just laying in my bed feeling like dying, but I just woke up and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Put the death to the side for a little bit. We got a video to make, so here we are. But you know what? Relying on others for happiness, what comes from this, what happens, like the start, the end, and well, that's how it goes, the start and the end, yeah. But some things, well, in my eyes, everything does end. And you know what? When you're not able to be happy with yourself and you feel like you need someone else to give you that happiness, you know what happens is, I don't want to call you a burden, but in a sense, it's like, sorry, I wouldn't even say that. I would say you bind yourself to this person, because again, when you're only finding something with this individual, finding it like this is your happiness, okay? It's right here. But like if you're over here, in your head, you convince yourself now, me being here alone, there's no happiness here. So you kind of find yourself being here over and over and over and over. And you come reliant on this person because you feel like this person has something that you can't give yourself. But at the end of the day, that's not true. It's something that you convinced yourself. Stay with me. Let me back up a little. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, stay with me here. When you're content with your life, when you're happy in the present moment or whatever the case may be, when other people come, the happiness that you're having, that you have or whatever, when this individual comes in, now you're able to get happiness from two sources. Therefore, if that person were to leave, you still had happiness here in the first place, but instead it was just split in two, because now I wouldn't even say it was split in two. It was more of, it was 100 here, 100 here, and it made 200. But at the end of the day, if you subtract 200 from 100, 200 from 100 or 100 from, yeah, 200 from 100, that would give you 100. So you still have your 100 here. But the thing is, if you have 0 here and you put into your mind, 100 is here, when this is gone, you feel like you're back to 0. And the reason why I understand that is because I was in that place once, except I was happy with my life before. I was content. And the fact is that somebody came in, and it wasn't that I was reliant on myself for happiness. It was that I was dragging myself down, trying to show this person that they could also be happy. So what was coming from that was, I was giving away what I had, trying to please this person, while they were taking and taking and taking, and I'm giving and giving. And at the end of the day, the thing is, I was willing to give on my own, but then at some point it came off like they were just taking, like, give me that. You don't deserve this. Now, as much as you want to give it to me, I don't want you to give it, because I'm taking it regardless, okay? And that's what was happening. And you know what happened? At some point when I realized that my energy and my happiness had depleted, you know what had happened to me? It was that I came to a point where I felt drained. I felt like I had nothing. And then that's when I became reliant on this person. I felt like what I had was gone, and this person had that. So what I was doing was, I was trying to give more of, I had nothing left, but I was still trying to give nothing. I was trying to give you something out of this nothing that I had. And you know what? I told myself, well, maybe if I did more, maybe if I showed up more, maybe if I try to be somebody that I'm not, maybe this would help this individual give me back what I gave them and actually reciprocate what I'm giving. But in the end, no. You want to know what happened? I negative aura. That's what happened. My aura went negative. Like, I had 0 happiness left. Like, I went below 0. Like, we went into the negative numbers, and that's because I was reliant. Like, I was showing up for this person more than I was showing up for myself, because it got into the point where, like, I had just, again, I completely was reliant on this person. I sat there with my phone beside my bed, waiting for a text and a call. After work, the first thing I did was pull out my phone, waiting for a text and a call. Anytime my phone would vibrate, oh, is it this person? I became so reliant on this person that I started neglecting and forgetting about myself. And then you know what happened? When this person left, I felt like I had nothing. And I wanted to go crawling back to that door again, because I felt like you took everything from me and you left me with nothing. But at the end of the day, it wasn't even that they took everything. It's that I gave it to you, and you just took some more. And I already gave you more of the nothing that I had left. So then when I was left alone, I felt stranded. Like, I felt like I was stripped of every type of diligence, any type of dignity, any type of anything that I had. I felt like I was no one after. I felt like I was experiencing an ego death, truly. After that happened, I was looking at myself and I was like, who is this person in front of me? I stopped smoking weed and stuff during that. Actually, no, I was smoking a little bit, but like during that time is when that was probably the longest time I deactivated my Instagram account, because in life in general, in my day-to-day, I hated who I was. And then when I was going on social media, seeing myself again, it's like just the hate train. And you see, with me, it was like I didn't even need to hear from an outside perspective of I'm this, I'm that. Because again, when I'm my biggest enemy, sometimes my words mean the most to me. So when I was sitting there and I was shitting on myself, I didn't need anybody else there to tell me these things, because I was right there. In every aspect of my day, I was reminding myself, as I woke up, as I went back to sleep, every part of the day that I was there with myself, I was telling myself, like, you're nothing. Because you know why? I felt like I had nothing left and I felt worthless. After I gave everything and I still amounted up to nothing, I felt worthless, I felt like I gave and I gave and I gave, and in the end it was for what, But the thing about me is, like, again, your mind could be your biggest asset, but then at the end of the day could also be your biggest fucking op. And it's like, for me, it was like I only felt worthless because I did something that I don't usually do, which is trying to switch myself and be somebody just for someone else. And it was like everything I did, all I wanted was, like Billie Eilish said, all I wanted was passion for you. Just wanted what I gave you. And you know what? I waited and waited, and during those times that I waited, I kept giving and giving. You guys, oh my gosh, if you guys seen my start, like the start of this YouTube channel, because this is what made me start this YouTube channel, if you've seen that version of me compared to the version of me today, it's two completely different mindsets. It really is. Like, that person I was before, I felt like no one during that time. After I broke it off, I started cutting myself because, like I said, I felt like no one, and it's like not everybody understands, and people are quick to judge people who self-harm, but me, it was like I stopped feeling like I had no type of happiness. There was no sadness. It wasn't anger either. It was just a state of numbness. And the thing is, like, for me, it was like I would cut myself because, like, I felt so unreal. It was like the feeling of not feeling, I didn't like it. So I would cut myself as a reminder. Like, every time I do it, it's like the fact that you could feel pain, this is your indicator that you're real. And this was like one of the second most worst times in my life ever again. And this is why, again, my barrier that I had up, that I let down for this individual, I built it even higher now. Because when you let the wrong people in, they really can destroy you, and they could really alter the course of your life. Sometimes it's for the good, but sometimes it's for the worse. And this situation, it was like, everything has a pro and a con. There was things that went good, but then there was more bad. So it's like when the bad starting to weigh out the good, it's like, you can't really try to, like, the balance isn't there, so it's just not gonna work. And again, this is why when you give too much to someone, when you rely on someone for something that you should have been giving to yourself, when they leave with what you convince yourself that they have, you feel like you're left with nothing. You know how many times I spent crying after that? During that, I felt like nobody. I felt like no matter what I did, I would always mean and just be nothing, because this person convinced me that. And that's what happens when you're around something for so long and you're hearing the same thing over and over. You start to convince yourself that is true. When people used to believe me in high school and they're saying this about me, this about me, this about me, at first it's like you don't care, but then when you're hearing it and you're hearing it and you're hearing it, it's like a favorite song. It starts to play in your head. You start to repeat the words over and over, and then that's when it starts to sink in, and then you start believing that the things that they're saying. That's why you have to protect yourself. And this is why my isolation right now is my protection. I have to build back up that barrier. I have to build back up from the zero that I had to start from again, because that's what happens when you can let the wrong people in. Those stragglers, they take, and then you have to restart. And then even now, I couldn't even give you a percentage. I could tell you very much it's not 100%, because if I was at 100%, I wouldn't be having off days still, like, as much as I was before. Like, before, I used to have good day. Even on the day it was raining, I used to feel amazing. But even right now, it's like my energy is like all over the place. This is why, guys, you can't. This is why, again, you can't rely on other people. You can't rely on other people for money, for companionship, for love, for a lot of things, because You rely on someone for money and then they take it all, they leave you with nothing. Rely on someone for happiness. When it's time for them to leave, you're left with nothing. For company, when you convince yourself that this is the only type of time that you're ever going to not feel alone, and then that person leaves, now you're back and you're going to feel like you're abandoned again. This is why you have to be there for yourself, because at least that you know that at the end of the day, if you're comfortable with being alone, no matter who comes and who goes, you'll know that at the end of the day, you can be content with the person that you return home to. And you know who that is? That's you. And that's my message for today. Pressure clocking out for today. I hope you guys have a lovely time in life. And I love you guys down. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Ciao, ciao.